My name is Larissa Mbata, and I'm the Corporate Affairs Manager for Zccm Investment Holdings PLC. I'd like to welcome everyone to the 21st Annual General Meeting for members of Zccm-Ih. I'd like to welcome those who are with us in person here at Southern Sen, and also those of you who are joining us virtually from wherever you're joining us. For you to listen to the proceedings clearly, we'd like to ask you to mute the original audio so that you can be able to choose whether the English channel or the French channel. With that said, we do also have the French translators who will be translating from English to French and vice versa. So please feel free to choose between the English and the French channels. Present here is the Zccm-Ih board and also management, and you, the shareholders. The introductions for the board and management will be done as the proceedings commence. Once again, I'd like to welcome you all and thank you for being here this morning. At this point in time, I will hand over to the company secretary for the furtherance of this meeting. Thank you.
Good morning, shareholders. Good morning, members of the board and management team, including our auditors, regulators, brokers, transfer secretaries, and indeed everyone here. Our AGM is about to start, and to begin with, let me mention that Mr. Festom Sonda, who is the board chairman of Zccm Investment Holdings PLC, will preside as chairperson for this meeting, and this is in compliance with Article 52 of the Articles of Association of the company, which provides for the board chairperson to preside as chairperson at the general meeting of members. Board chair, we can now proceed. Thank you.
Good morning to you all, those who are present here and those joining us virtually. I call upon the company secretary to confirm that the quorum is constituted.
Board chair can confirm that we do have a quorum and we can proceed.
The necessary quorum being present, I declare the meeting duly constituted and open, and welcome you to the 21st Annual General Meeting of the company. I have the following announcements to make. On behalf of the Board of Directors, I am pleased to welcome you to the 21st Annual General Meeting of the company. Over the past year, the board and management have worked closely and diligently to strengthen internal processes, culminating in completing the audited financial statements. Shareholders are informed that efforts are ongoing to further improve the timelines of issuing audited financial statements in the future. Queries relating to individual shareholder concerns will be handled after the AGM right in this room. Registration of members present is being done right at the entrance. We have also made provisions for online registration. I hope that all members registered their names. Allow me to take this opportunity to introduce Mrs. Beatrice Nkanza, representing the Industrial Development Corporation Limited, the 61.3% majority shareholder in Zccm. You may just raise your hand where you are seated as I introduce you. In addition, I hereby introduce Mr. Rodney Machela, representing the government of the Republic of Zambia, GRZ, holder of significant shares of 17.3 through the Minister of Finance as custodian. I acknowledge the presence of Mr. Willie Chingoma, representing the National Pension Scheme Authority, NAPSA, with a shareholding of 15%. May I also take this opportunity to introduce the members of the Board of Directors of Zccm-Ih here today. Mr. Movita Kapelwa, sitting right on my right, a non-executive director and vice chairperson of the board, and chairperson of the investment committee. He is also a member of the audit and remuneration committees. Mrs. Masitala Mushinga, non-executive director, chairperson of the audit committee and member of the remuneration and risk, compliance and ESG committees. Mr. Philip G. Tosak, who has joined virtually, a non-executive director and chairperson of the risk, compliance and ESG, and a member of the audit and investment committee. Mr. Anthony Chilengi, across me here, non-executive director and chairperson of the remuneration committee and a member of the investment and risk, compliance and ESG committees. Mr. Bishop Mambo, sitting across me there, non-executive director and member of the remuneration, audit, risk, compliance and ESG committees. Mr. Kakene Nwamuyangwa, executive director and chief executive officer of Zccm-Ih, on my left. Apologies have been received from Mr. Muyangwa, non-executive director and member of the investments and remuneration committees, also representing NAPSA. With respect to the management team, I have seated here with me on my left, Mr. Charles Mijumpi, the company secretary. I also have Mrs. Chilandu Sakala, the chief financial officer. Mr. Stumbeko Mubano, the acting chief investment officer. Mr. Tisa Chama, the chief technical officer. Mr. Shepard Mwanza, the chief internal audit officer. Mr. Gift Zulu, the procurement manager, and Mrs. Mwaka Mwamlima, the risk manager. The rest of the management team of Zccm-Ih are seated in the front row, and I will ask them to introduce themselves.
Good morning, Betty Meleki, Chief Human Resource and Administration Officer for Zccm-Ih.
Good morning, I'm Mukuka Kangwa. I'm the Chief ICT Officer for Zccm-Ih.
Good morning, I'm Brian Imbilema, the Legal Manager at Zccm-Ih.
Good morning, everyone. Kalembo Tito, Strategy Manager at Zccm-Ih.
In terms of apologies from shareholders, I have not received any apologies. Do we have apologies from members who have been unable to attend the meetings? Thank you. The apologies have been noted. We also have present in the meeting our sponsoring brokers, Stock Brokers Zambia, led by Mr. Jack Kanyanga. Our transfer secretaries, CopSave Transfer Agents Limited, led by Mr. Zccm-Ih. We also have representation from the Securities and Exchange Commission, as well as the Lusaka Securities Exchange. I now hand over to the Secretary to inform the meeting of the proxies received and to read the notice convening the meeting.
Thank you, Chair. Kopsev, we can just have the proxies. Thank you. Chair, I will just read a few of the proxies. You've already mentioned the IDC, which is being represented by Mrs. Nkanza, Ministry of Finance, being represented by Mr. Rodney Machla, National Pensions Scheme Authority, being represented by Mr. Willie Chigoma. Also just read a few. Mr. Barry Michel, Mr. Clamp Thierry, being represented by Mr. Philippe Tosak. We also have received proxies from Satunya Regina Pension Fund, being represented by Mr. Kelvin Shiunga, and Absa Bank PLC Staff Pension Fund, being represented by Mr. Kelvin Shiunga. The rest of the proxies will be contained in the final report. With that, Chair, allow me to read the notice of the AGM, which can be found in the AGM pack on the first page. Notice is hereby given that the 21st Annual General Meeting, or AGM, of the members of Zccm Investments Holdings PLC will be held both physically and virtually on Friday, 18th July 2025 at 10 hours. And the physical meeting will take place here at the Southern Sun Ridgeway Hotel, the address being given in the Zango Conference Hall. We also have made provisions for online or virtual attendance. The rest of the details have been with the members for a period more than 21 days as prescribed by the Companies Act. Chair, I now hand back over to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Before deliberations on resolutions, the voting on resolutions will be done via an electronic system. Our transfer agents, COPSAVE Zambia, will provide detailed guidance on the procedure for electronic voting before each resolution is passed. Questions will be allowed before tabling the resolution. Under agenda item number 1, the first item on the agenda is to approve the minutes of the 20th Annual General Meeting that was held on 28th June 2024. Members to note that the minutes start from page 2 to page 12 of the AGM Pact. I'd like you to follow. Are there any corrections or amendments to the minutes? We start with page 2. Page 3. Page 4. Page 5. Page 6.
Chair, on page 3, my name has been misspelled as Nakanza instead of Nkanza.
We take note of.
Okay. Well noted, Chair.
Page 6. Page 7. Page 8. Page 9. Page 10, page 11, and page 12. Thank you. The resolution relating to the minute is that the minutes of the 20th Annual General Meeting of the company held on 28th June 2024 be and are hereby approved as a true and correct record of the proceedings of the meeting signed by the board chairman, of course subject to corrections made. I now call upon Mrs. Beatrice Nkanza to propose the resolution.
I propose, Chair.
I invite Mr. Rodney Machila to second the resolution.
I second, Chair.
Are there any matters arising from the minutes? Page 2, page 3, page 4, page 5, page 6, page 7, page 8, page 9, page 10, page 11, and page 12. The next agenda item on the agenda is to receive the audited financial statements for the year ended 31st December 2024, together with the reports of directors and the auditors. I invite the Chief Executive Officer, Mr. Myangwa, and the CFO, Mrs. Sakala Chilandu, to make a presentation highlighting the major items of significance regarding the 2024 audited financial statements.
Good morning, members. All protocols observed. I will start the presentation with a disclaimer. The purpose of this presentation is to provide a general understanding of the business of the company and not for investment purposes. This presentation contains forward-looking information and statements which are subject to known and unknown risk. Today's presentation's outline will cover Zccm-Ih transformation journey. We have undergone a major transformation focusing on value creation, governance, and strategic investments. This 6-year performance analysis that we're going to show is going to display the growth trends over the past 6 years, highlighting the impact of our transformation journey, and the financial highlights from 2024, which will show clearly that 2024 was our best year yet, with record earnings, strong returns, and a solid balance sheet. The share performance section will show that our share price trends, what they are, and what we are doing to improve the market visibility and liquidity. In the portfolio developments, we will indicate the key milestones, including Mopane restructuring, the KCM settlement, and the expansion in the energy sector. In the strategic outlook, we'll be focusing on stability, growth, and delivering long-term value to our shareholders. We'll then look at the proposed dividend for 2024, which is based on 35% of the realized profits a direct reward for your continued support. "2024 was a landmark year for the company. It was transformative. It has put the company on a platform for greater growth and taking advantage of opportunities in the business. There are a lot of opportunities. But in 2024, the group delivered record-breaking performance, driven by exceptional investment returns, sustained royalty streams, and major restructuring achievements. The key highlights include the finalization of the Mopani restructuring agreement and the resolution of the Glencore legacy debt, which was choking our balance sheet. There was also the settlement with our Vedanta on KCM, which has unlocked a reinvestment commitment of $1.27 billion. We also received 1.43 billion kwacha in royalty income from Kansanshi. Finally, there was progress on the Mamba Phase 2 energy expansion, which is going to deliver 300 megawatts of additional power by June, July next year. And we also increased our stake in CEC. These milestones translated into a surge in net asset values per share to 325 kwacha, and a sharp increase in earnings per share to 248 kwacha, and a clear indication of value creation. We have also strengthened our governance structures by implementing a committee of sponsoring organizations of the Tradeway Commission, COSO, 2013 aligned internal controls over financial reporting, which is shortened to ICOFA framework, and continued advancing our environmental, social, and governance agenda. As we look ahead, our focus remains on investment stability, consistent dividend growth, and embedding a high governance, a high performance culture across the group. This timeline captures our remarkable evolution over the past 6 years. From establishing new gold operations in 2019 to high-value mineral royalties and the debt settlement in 2024, every year was marked with deliberate progress. Our transformation was driven by resolving legacy litigation and the liabilities, investing in productive assets, enforcing better governance, and prioritizing shareholder returns. The 6-year results reflect a shift from legacy losses to income-generating assets, affirming the group's transformation strategy. Essentially, we are now poised to take this business on a very rewarding journey and a full participation in the new opportunities which are there in the country. Ladies and gentlemen, this slide illustrates our financial journey over the past 6 years from 2019 to 2024. Let me begin with our 2024, which clearly shows a turning point for Zccm-Ih. But from 2020 to 2023, we experienced sustained financial pressure, largely due to legacy assets and the Glencore loan. and recurring impairments. If you look at the dip in the chart, 2023 was the most challenging year with negative net asset value per share and continued losses. The other side of that was the upturn in the debt equity ratios going northwards. 2024 marks a strong recovery. Earnings per share rose sharply to 247.8 kwacha, while net asset values per share surged to 325.02, both the highest on record for this company. This remarkable turnaround reflects the success of our restructuring and the value we are now delivering to you, our shareholders. I now invite the Chief Financial Officer to talk through the financial highlights.
Thank you, CEO. Good morning to you, all our members, and should I just say all protocols observed. I'll start with the financial statement results, just giving the key highlights and the development that happened during the year. And basically, the financial statements are contained in two components. We have the group financial results, which includes the company Zccm as a standalone, and then also the investee company's financial results consolidated together. Then we have the Zccm standalone financial statements. Okay, to begin with, I'll start with the group income statements. That's the financial results. As you will note, that the group recorded an exceptional turnaround from a loss-making position in 2023, largely due to the profit that was realized of a 1,778% increase in profit. And this profit was mainly driven by the one-off gain that was realized from the Mopani strategic equity partner transaction of 35 billion kwacha, and also an increase in the financial performance of our investee companies, which also contributed a profit of 3.3 billion kwacha compared to 2023 of 2.2 billion kwacha. Moving on to the company's financial results, looking at the income aspect, despite the group recording strong financial performance, you will note that the company recorded a loss of 4 billion kwacha. This is primarily due to a one-off investment expense of 3.6 billion kwacha, translating into $150 million, along with some of the finance costs on the Glencore loan related to the restructuring of Mopani. I think what is key to note that the structuring of the Mopani transaction was inevitable to unlock the long-term values for the company. Members, we're now moving on to a slide that shows the group's financial position as at year ended 2024. You will note that there was a slight decline in terms of our total asset by 2% if we compare with 2023 financial year. And this was primarily due to the Mopani asset reclassification. This reclassification is due to the change in the accounting treatment of Mopani from being a subsidiary to an investee company. What is important to note is that total liability reduced significantly by 92% to 5 billion kwacha from 64 billion kwacha. This illustrates a significant movement in decrease in terms of liability following the restructuring of the Glencore debt at Mopani. When we move on to the equity side, you will note that there has been also a significant improvement in terms of the equity value, and this is the improvement has led to an increase in terms of our equity position to 52 billion kwacha from 5.6 negative billion kwacha that was recorded in 2023. Moving on to just give you key highlights, our members on the performance of our associate companies. This is where we have interest. And what is important to note that the share of profit that has been recorded in the group financial statements was primarily driven from four investee companies, namely KCM, CNMC, Mamba, and CEC, and this obviously reflects their improvement in terms of operation and additionally the increase in terms of global prices, in terms of the movement in our copper prices that boosted profitability during the year. And I think a key to mention here is that the value that you are seeing on KCM is because of the strategic transformation and the commitment of the investments that the CEO spoke about of 1.2 billion that obviously is meant to improve and turn around the operations of KCM. So members, if you look at the company's financial position, you will note that total assets increased by 74%, and this was obviously driven by the key factors that we have earlier alluded to, the strategic investment in Mopani, the CEC, where we increased our shareholding, what's happening at Mingomba, and also other portfolio companies' performance improvement. And in terms of our total liabilities, you will note that we have increased at company level by 341%. This is primarily due to the recognition of the Glencore loan under the Mopani restructuring. This is a strategic financing instrument and does not reflect operational debt. And when we move on to the equity side, you will note that also from the equity side, we are recording positives. There has been an increase of 66%, and this increase is primarily attributed to fair value gains on financial assets recognized during the year. Moving on to other key reportable matters that we need to highlight. This slide is showing the Zccm-Ih's approach in implementing the Committee of Sponsoring Organization of the Tradeway Commission, COSO 2013. This is obviously in order to improve the effectiveness of controls that surrounds the reporting of the financial statements, and obviously enhance our control environment to be robust. I think the key to note here that in 2024, the work that we undertook was to complete a comprehensive mapping of key financial reporting processes, gaps analysis. Gaps were identified in our control processes and consolidated, and the report was submitted to the Securities and Exchange Commission in June 2025 as part of our compliance obligation. And also, key to note is that remediation efforts are underway to ensure that we implement an effective control environment that is obviously aligned with the international best practices. Well, moving on to looking at contingent liabilities, this particularly members is being highlighted and has been disclosed in full in terms of the financial statements that you have in your hands. So we have disclosed the matter, the Trafigura arbitration matter between the Zccm and Trafigura. Trafigura is seeking a claim of 82 million plus interest and cost, and obviously Zccm is vigorously defending this claim. No provision has been made, as you will note, in the financial statement for 2024, and this is because we have disclosed this matter as a contingent liability in line with the provision of the international international accounting standard, which has been stated in the presentation. Should I go? Okay. All right. So we are now moving on from the financial highlights to looking at how our share listings and our shares on the 3 stock exchange performed during the period. So you will note that in terms of our share performance on Lusaka Security Exchange, there was an increase of 54% in the market capitalization on the LUSE, attributed to obviously increase in terms of trade during the financial period 2024. And speaking to the increase in terms of total traded shares, you will note that in 2020 there was a substantial increase in traded shares from 11,000 to 60,000. And when we look at the share movement, you will note that we opened with a share price in 2024 of 42 kwacha per share, and we closed with 65 kwacha per share. Moving on to our Euronext access, our listing in Paris, you will note that there was a reduction in terms of the share price and obviously the market capitalization, where if you look at the market capitalization, we moved from 248 million euros to 201 million euros, and there was obviously recorded reduction in the shares that was being traded. And in terms of our share price on Euronext, you will note that we opened our year with a share price of 1.5 euros and closed with 1.25 euros, demonstrating a reduction. And in terms of the volume, ladies and gentlemen, you will see that there was also a reduction that was recorded in terms of the shares that were traded during the year 2024. Moving on to the London Stock Exchange, the London Stock Exchange market cap remained consistent with 2023 financial year, and there were no traded shares during the year, and we closed off with the same share price that we had opened with in 2024 financial year. I'll now hand over to the CEO to continue with the rest of the presentation. Thank you so much.
I will start by providing an overview of the portfolio. This slide contains the subsidiaries, investee companies, and associated companies. In total, there are 24. As part of our strategy is to streamline our portfolio to focus on mining and energy and related investments. 9 companies highlighted in red are earmarked for divestment or disposal, so that our concentration remains on key core mining and energy assets that will drive value to the business. We have initiated the necessary steps for this rationalization program to optimize the portfolio in future, so that we focus on those target areas. The table and pie chart represents the distribution of value and the concentration across different mining and energy industries. Copper, gold, and cobalt concentration rate is at 73.4%, 73.6% of the total portfolio at 42.2 billion kwacha. This sector holds the largest value in the concentration, indicating that the majority of the company value comes from these metals. The energy sector is at 26% of the total portfolio value at 14.9 billion kwacha. The energy sector contributes significantly, but is much smaller in value, and the concentration compared to the copper, gold, and cobalt sector. The other commodities make up 0.4% of the total at 0.2 billion kwacha. This includes other sectors which together make up a very small portion of the total value and concentration. So the valuation, as you can see there, is at 48 billion for 2024. Here, we are now going to look at the strategic key developments, among others, such as Kansanshi, with a stable royalty income, and the S3 expansion on track for 2025. We'll look at Mopane, with a major restructuring that has been completed, and focus now on operational recovery. At Mamba, they are advancing the 300 megawatt phase 2 extension to grow energy revenues. CEC, we increased our stake to 32.14%, supporting renewable energy growth. Mingomba, it's like a startup in exploration at this point in time, but it's progressing very well. But this is going to be key for future critical minerals. KCM, as mentioned before, the $1.27 billion Vedanta reinvestment is underway to drive the turnaround, and that's over 5 years. In our subsidiaries, generally we provide funding to support their recovery plans. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now going to go through the individual investments one by one and highlight what's happening there. At Mopane, we had IRH come in as a strategic equity partner. Through this transaction, we successfully repositioned Mopane as a financially sustainable operation. A key outcome was the resolution of the $1.71 billion in Mopane-related debt, which was due to Glencore and Kalisa. To date, IRH, through its subsidiary Delta Mining, has invested $620 million out of the committed $1.1 billion. This includes $400 million towards restructuring the Glencore loan and the $220 million as equity injection into Mopane. The balance of $400 million in equity funding will be invested over the next 3 years. In 2024, Mopane recorded 16.36 billion kwacha in revenues and a net profit of 34.14 billion kwacha, approximately $1.31 billion, marking a decisive turnaround from prior years of losses. This transaction has significantly reduced our financial exposure and positioned Zccm-Ih for long-term sustainable value creation. At CEC, Zccm-Ih increased the shareholding from 31.07% to 32.41%, reinforcing its strategic influence in powering Zambia's mining and industrial sectors. As part of our expansion in renewable energies, CEC commissioned the 60 megawatt Intimpi 1 solar PV plant, bringing total renewable energy capacity to 94 megawatts in 2024. Construction also commenced on two smaller projects, the 12.5 megawatt Fitula solar project and the 20 megawatt Ganaton South solar project. CEC also issued a green bond of 96.7 million to fund the 136 million megawatt Itimpi 2 solar project, further advancing Zambia's clean energy agenda. Zccm-Ih supported this issue by investing in $10 million of that green bond. At Mamba, in 2022, ZESCO and Mamba Energy reached a settlement on outstanding power arrears. By 31st December 2024, the balance had dropped to $210 million from $323 million in 2023. On 14th August 2024, Mamba began construction of the 300 megawatt phase 2 expansion, a $400 million project that will double capacity to 600 megawatts. Zccm-Ih has committed $50 million to this project, of which $35 million is towards equity, and which is in line with our 35% stake in the business, and $15 million is in debt financing. At Kansanshi, Zccm-Ih earned 1.43 billion in royalties, showing a strong result tied to high production. The upcoming S3 expansion, set for August 2025, will boost processing capacity and extend the mine life by 25 years, securing long-term revenue and asset value for Zccm-Ih. At KCM, we and Vedanta Resources signed a landmark agreement to resolve all disputes and restart operations. Vedanta committed $1.27 billion in new investment, which, as I've said, will be over the next 5 years. KCM is now operational with approximately $400 million already invested by Vedanta. This marks a turning point aimed at unlocking the Konkola deep mine, which will be stabilizing KCM's finances and at the same time restoring investor confidence after years of uncertainty. At CNMC Luanshya Copper Mines, it's important to note that CNMC began dewatering Shaft 28 to support its expansion plans, with a completion targeted for December 2025. This project is going to cost $500 million and will extend the life of mine by 20 years. So far, $54.9 million has been spent on CapEx. Once completed, annual copper production is expected to more than double from 45,000 tons to 100,000 tons. At NFCA Mining, Africa Mining, the mine is focusing on the development of the southeast ore body at its Chambeshi unit. This project aims to extend the life of the mine by 25 years and significantly boost copper production capacity, and feasibility studies are currently underway. At Mingomba Mining, significant progress has been made in terms of exploration works, positioning it as a potential world-class copper asset. While not yet generating revenue, Zccm-Ih invested $9.7 million in 2024 for geological works and feasibility studies, with a pre-feasibility study expected in 2025. And there are plans, although tentative, that infrastructure and shaft sinking could be starting sometime late next year. By the end of 2024, a total of 78 kilometers had been drilled. At Zambia Gold, it's key to note that following the resolution of regulatory and safety issues, operations at Kasenseli Gold Mine resumed in March 2025. Zambia Gold has since begun exploration activities and commenced trial mining as part of the exploration phase. It has also commenced, in a limited way, some gold trading activities in Mombwa and Rufunsa. At Luvambe Copper Mines, Zccm-Ih increased its stake in that mine from 20 to 30%, following a $300 million investment by JCHX to support the mine's turnaround. To date, $110 million has been invested by JCHX. Under JCHX's control, Luvambe is now focused on stabilizing production, optimizing operations, and extending mine life, with further investment expected to unlock long-term value. Looking forward, the foundation that we have built positions Zccm-Ih for stable and sustained growth. Mopani now has a clearer route to profitability under the restructured agreement. Kansanshi royalties are a predictable and significant income stream. Our investees, especially CEC and Mamba, are delivering higher dividends, and our energy portfolio is positioned to benefit from Zambia's growing power demand. These drivers affirm our confidence in maintaining strong performance and delivering value to shareholders. Before we proceed to that, I just also wanted to point out that we have recently made a significant investment in Sinograde phosphate project in Sinda, with the processing in Chilanga. That's a significant investment. This is a brand new investment, and we are very happy that we have made that investment, and we think that this is going to bring fantastic value to the business over the years. Okay. I'm advised that the dividend is going to be discussed under agenda item number 3. But so we will keep the good news in wraps until then. Thank you very much. Thank you.
I now invite Mr. Chelo Hamwele to present the audit report on behalf of KPMG Zambia, who are our external auditors.
Good morning, members and directors. As indicated, my name is Chelo Hamwele, representing Jason Kazilimani, who is the signing partner. So I will take the members through our report. It reads, Independent Auditor's Report to the shareholders. It's on page 44 of your financial statements, your integrated annual report. Independent Auditor's Report to the shareholders of Zccm Investments PLC. Report on the audit of the consolidated and separate financial statements. Opinion, we have audited the consolidated and separate financial statements of Zccm Investments Holdings PLC, set out on pages 50 to 195, which comprise the consolidated and company statement of financial position as of 31st December 2024, and the consolidated and company statements of profit or loss and other comprehensive income, consolidated and company changes in equity, and consolidated and company statements of cash flows for the year then ended, the notes to the financial statements, and a summary of material accounting policy information. In our opinion, the accompanying consolidated and separate financial statements give a true and fair view of the consolidated and separate financial position of Zccm Investments Holdings PLC as of 31st December 2024, and of its consolidated and company financial performance and consolidated and separate cash flows for the year then ended in accordance with IFRS accounting standards as issued by the International Accounting Standards Board and in compliance with the requirements of the Companies Act of Zambia and the Securities Act of Zambia. Chair, just quickly on page 49, report on other legal and regulatory requirements, Companies Act of Zambia. In accordance with section 259(3) of the Companies Act of Zambia, we consider and report that there is no relationship, interest, or debt we have with the company, and there were no serious breaches of corporate governance principles or practices by the directors as defined by the guidelines on serious breaches of corporate governance issued by the Zambia Institute of Chartered Accountants, Securities Act of Zambia. In accordance with Rule 18 of the Securities Act, statutory instrument number 163 of 1993, we consider and report that the consolidated and separate statements of financial position, consolidated and separate statements of profit or loss and other comprehensive income were in agreement with accounting records, and we have obtained all the information, explanations which, to the best of our knowledge and belief, were necessary for the purposes of the audit. Signed, KPMG, Jason Kazilimani, on the 20th of June, 2025. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much for that report. Besides the highlights given by the Chief Executive Officer, Mr. Miyangwa, and the audit report presented by Mr. Hamwele, I will take that the 2024 financial statements and reports as read. Before these are adopted, I invite questions from shareholders, and the same will be answered by the Chief Executive Officer, Mr. Miyangwa, and other members of the management team. As this is a members' meeting, I emphasize that only shareholders are allowed to comment or ask questions. As you make a comment or ask questions, kindly introduce yourself and which town or country you are coming from. Questions should be precise, and shareholders are reminded that due consideration should be given to avoid delaying the progress of the meeting.
We do have a hand behind there. If you can just give us your name, your full names, and where you're from. If you may stand, please.
Thank you. I'm Mkerabai. I'm a shareholder. I'm coming from Chisamba. I want to agree with the CEO that the company is on firm ground. It's going in the right direction. Having said that, I have 3 brief questions. I hope I'm allowed to ask 3 brief ones. The first one is, what exactly did Zccm-Ih spend the money on in relation to Mopani, which somehow seems from your presentation to have affected the books negatively? And so what exactly was that spent on? My next question is, on the investee companies, I saw Invest Trust there. So the question I have around that is, what is the fate of the Invest Trust shareholders? The last question is, when do we expect Zccm-Ih to be paying not at least a minimum of 10 kwacha in dividends, since it seems to be doing very well? Thank you.
Thank you. Where's the other hand before we allow the 3 questions to be responded to? Is there any other hand? Okay, so we have 1 hand.
Good morning, Chair and the members. Justin Sipo Chitengi is my name, representing the Chitengi family shares. I have 2 questions on the strategic plan, the strategies as mentioned by CEO on companies that we are trying to either dispose of or adjusting. I observed there was Ndola Lime there. Maybe CEO, you could just shed more light on that, why Ndola Lime is listed on that. I was of the view that it's not doing badly. Secondly, I'm of the view that their business is aligned to the 2 major portfolios we're looking at, namely energy and mining, my opinion. The second question is on the Transfigura litigation, arbitration in London. I observed that CEO mentioned that Zccm-Ih is defending this matter in a vigorous way. I don't know if it's not the right forum, but if it were the right forum, would the CEO just shed a bit, give a bit of details of what it is exactly we are doing in defending vigorously? I am of the view that the qualification of vigorous is a bit general. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. We'll allow the CEO to respond to the questions.
Okay. Thank you very much. Mr. Mukelabai, on the first question about where the money was spent on Mopani, which has increased our costs. Essentially, the $150 million was part of the resolution of the Glencore Kalisa debt. So if you look at, there was this 1.7 billion accumulated debt, which was secured by or guaranteed by Zccm-Ih. So as part of that resolution, Some money came in from IRH, $400 million, which was paid to Glencore. And then we committed to pay back $150 million as part of that resolution. So basically, it's our skin in the game, so to speak, that, because we are getting, we are eliminating the 1.7 that we had actually guaranteed. And if you remember, as shown on our, on the summaries in 2013, we actually had negative equity arising out of the Mopani financials mainly. So this is the cost to us of cleaning up our books. Okay, so that's how that money has been spent. It's our part in contributing to clean up the books at Mopani. The second question is about the fate of Invest Trust Bank. As you may be aware, Invest Trust was taken over by Bank of Zambia earlier in the year. I think it was about April. And effectively, our role in that bank has ended. Even as shareholders, we're just waiting to see the total resolution of that bank, until it's completely deregistered or whatever happens to it. That's when it will also be off our books. But in terms of interest, our shares have been taken over by Bank of Zambia. In terms of when are we going to get to 10 kwacha dividends as a minimum, we are also looking towards that day. We are working very hard towards achieving that day. So just bear with us, and we think that we've started on the right journey. It may take a bit of time, but we hope that we'll get there very soon. Thank you. I'm not sure about the second gentleman, whether the name was Chitengi or Chitengi. Okay, Mr. Chitengi. Ndola Lime, just as with the Invest Trust Bank, it's in liquidation, and according to the Companies Act or PACRA rules, it will continue being a company in liquidation until all its affairs are resolved. And when it's struck off the register at PACRA, that's the only time that we should be able to say that we no longer have an interest in that. So it's there on our books, but we are waiting for the day when it's going to be completely deregistered by PACRA. And that's the whole process in terms of legal requirements of how to liquidate a company and finally have it deregistered. And in terms of the Trafigura matter, Mr. Chitengi, you're quite correct. It's effectively it's sub judice. We can't go into too much detail, but we are concerned that the company should not be losing any value out of this. So we are doing everything possible to make sure that there's no loss of value to the shareholders as a result of the Trafigura matter. Thank you.
Thank you, CEO. Maybe just a clarity also on the Ndola Lime, the question, why are we divesting from Ndola as the lime falls within the mining and energy focus?
So what happened in Ndola Lime was that the balance sheet had become unsustainable. Basically, the company had gone bankrupt. But the core deposit of lime is still there. And as a result, the company, your company, Zccm-Ih, incorporated another entity called Limestone Resources to take over the core business of Ndola Lime. So what you see here as being Ndola Lime, it's the remnant of that activity. So in fact, on that schedule, you should have seen Ndola Lime and also Limestone Resources. So Limestone Resources is the current operating entity, while Ndola Lime is the remnant that's going under liquidation. But you're right that, lime is part of our, we have 4 legs in terms of our strategy. So the industrial minerals falls under, limestone and lime activities fall under what we call industrial minerals. So we have an interest in continuing that line of business. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions in the House? Okay, we have a hand here. Any other hand? Okay, so we'll get the questions from the shareholder in-house. Please tell us your name and where you're from.
My name is Vikwato Kamanga, shareholder, Lusaka. So I just have 2 questions. The first one being on the reduction of share price on the Euronext. Was there any analysis to just find out what could have caused this reduction? Then the second question is just on ZCCM being in a position to benefit the country in terms of unlocking wealth from mining, apart from, of course, shareholding being one of the ways that citizens get to benefit from this. What other things are being put in place for the country, citizens who are not shareholders, for example, to also benefit from the work that ZCCM is doing? Yeah.
Thank you. Any other hand?
Mkerabai again. I think I still have issues with the Mopani, some clarity, because the Mopani issue seems to be of interest to the country, so it tends to be reported in the media. So what is reported, my understanding is that most people out there, their understanding was that part of the agreement with the, IRH. The understanding was that those people are going to completely shoulder the Glencore debt, and not money coming from ZCCM to pay that debt. So I'm confused on that part. And then the other question I would want to know is, how far is that debt? How much has been paid as of now? And will Zccm-Ih continue to bear that burden, to foot that bill? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We'll allow the Chief Executive Officer to respond to those 3 questions.
Thank you. That Mr. Kamanga, the first question was about the reduction of the share price on the Euronext. As the standards warning goes about share pricing, is that prices go up and down. So it's very difficult to explain what happened. As similarly, you might be interested to know that last week the share price went up 45%, 44%, 45% on Euronext. It's very difficult to explain these are just based on individual transactions coming through, prices at which shareholders are willing to buy and sell. Okay. You asked about the benefits, other benefits apart from being shareholders. As we support the development of the economy in Zambia, as we invest in our chosen sectors, jobs are being created. The fact that, Mopani has been resolved, it means that our people who are employed there, their jobs are safe. In fact, with the IRH coming on board at Mopani, there has been additional jobs created. I think over 1,000 jobs have been created. People were supplying to Mopani, people were supplying to KCM, people who are supplying to Mamba, all those suppliers, they are going to get more business because of the expansions in activities that are sort of guaranteed by our investment. So it's not just your shares and dividends, but generally, as a local investor, we are doing exactly the same things that international inward investors are also doing, which is increasing opportunities, job opportunities, economic growth, and also contributing towards taxes which are being collected by government. So it's very difficult to give you the specifics, but you know what the benefits are of investments, and we're doing our part also. Mr. Mkelaba, yes, you are right that the Mopani transaction, is of great significance to Zambia. But, expectations are one thing and the reality is another. So, Zambians probably would have wanted a perfect deal where IRH does everything and we walk away without any pain. But the thing is, there's only so much that investors also, international investors can do. And to get a deal over the line, we also have to commit certain things on our side also. This happens all the time, and a lot of investors coming in, you find they go to ZDA and get concessions. They get investment incentives. Those are costs. Okay, so it's not all one-sided. You somehow in one way or another we also have to chip in to what's going on. So I think expectations by the public are one thing, and the reality in terms of how deals are structured is another. And this is exactly the situation here. There was a question about, I'm not sure, how much was?
How much has been paid so far of this Glencore debt?
Yeah, maybe the CFO can give us the numbers, but I should say that this is a 5-year commitment that we have to repay, and every quarter, certain amounts are being repaid. But the CFO can give us what the actual balance is at this point in time.
Thank you, Mr. Mkeleba, and I'll just refer you to the financial statements under page 131, note 35. It gives the detail of how much has been paid. So of the 3.8 billion, you will note that about 1.2 billion has been paid in principal, and then also the interest of 318 million has been paid as well. More detail is contained in the financial statements. Thank you.
I think maybe just to explain that there is a slight difference between the accounting aspect and the actual payments. So in terms of accounting requirements, this item had to be written off in the year that it arose. But in terms of the actual payments, it's being amortized over a five-year period.
Thank you. Any questions from the House? Okay, we'll take one more question. Then we have questions that we had received earlier before this meeting from the shareholders. Yes, please. You may tell us your name and where you're from.
Coming from Choma, I'm a shareholder. My question is on value addition to our copper and copper concentrates as we export it. Has our company got a think tank department? If we do have it, do we consider engaging brains like Professor Clive Chirwa in our company? Thank you.
Any more questions? Okay, we have a hand here. And one hand at the back there.
A shareholder. I would like to find out whether dividends have been paid for the past 2 years.
Just here from where? Osaka, okay. We get one last question at the end there. At the back there. Yes, please.
My name is Manjase. I'm shareholder. In line with my fellow colleague who had asked about value addition, what other value addition is Zccm-Ih into other than simply investing in other companies? Are there any plans of coming up with a refinery? Are there any plans of adding value to our copper other than just exporting it? What other investments is the Zccm-Ih planning on bringing into the company? Because I'm not seeing much value addition or much innovation here. It's just simply investing in this company or that company. So as a shareholder, I would like to hear more value addition that's being added.
Thank you. We'll allow the CEO just to respond to those questions.
Thank you very much. In terms of value addition, you know, it's very topical and it's very important. We all know that a lot more value comes downstream beyond what we are doing in terms of mining, and we are actively looking at opportunities for local beneficiation and value addition. In terms of you know, doing things beyond concentrates, we have in our group, we have smelters at KCM, we have smelters at Mopani, we also have refineries at KCM and Mopani. So you know, there is a lot of refining, smelting and refining which is happening within our group. The economics of doing custom smelting, you know, where you set up a smelter without having a mine attached to that, there are risks to that, and you know, if we think that the opportunities or the rewards are enough, we will consider that. But for the time being, I think at least in the copper side, you know, we think that we are well exposed to the downstream side. Now, there are other ways of looking at beneficiation beyond just cathodes also. So again, if opportunities do arise, in whether it's making, you know, copper cables or copper pipes or so, we will look at those. But we know there are companies who are already in that sector, and we see their struggles. Okay, so you know, I think we are going to be very careful in terms of what we do. And I'm really sort of combining between Mr. Piri's question and also, I don't know the name, was that Manjase or at the back? Yeah, so in terms of other opportunities that we are considering, and I'm not saying that we have committed anything, because if we did, as shareholders, you probably have seen announcements to that effect. But we are looking at opportunities in manganese. There is manganese aggregation that we have a mandate on. So we'll be looking at what else we can do there. We have a subsidiary, Zambia Gold, which is working on you know, gold mining and gold aggregation. Again, we'll look at that, whether maybe there'll be opportunities for, you know, after the volumes of gold go up, whether we should be looking at setting up a gold refinery. For those who are in the know, Caribbean Minerals has started some value addition to their amethyst product. And at the international airport, a shop was opened 2 years ago. You can buy some jewelry coming out of Caribbean Minerals. And recently, they opened an outlet at East Park. So please do pass through there as shareholders. You can buy some of your own products coming from Kariba Minerals. There is a shop there. They do beautiful jewelry, earrings and, rings, necklaces and stuff like that. So, but we are looking at opportunities. We have an investment division which is looking at all these opportunities. It's very difficult to say, for us to make comments about what Professor Clive Chira thinks about beneficiation. But we are listening to all voices out there. If the ideas make sense and we have the capital to lay out and participate in some of these ideas, we will. But we have our own internal benchmarks in terms of what we expect in the form of returns before we pledge any cash to these projects. There was a question about have dividends been paid over 2 years? I don't know if I misunderstood that, but we have been paying dividends. So I think maybe Kosek, if that shareholder has not received her dividends, maybe you need to follow up. But we have been declaring dividends consecutively for what? Is it 8 years? 10 years. Yes. Page 7 actually of the pack shows how much of dividends we've been declaring.
Yeah, maybe just to add to the CEO's message over the dividends, just in case in the room we do have shareholders that may not have received any dividend. If you look at the AGM pack on page 16, we have a form which basically requires you shareholders to provide us with updated information. Perhaps it's the bank details that are not accurate or whatever other contact details, so that we immediately approve that. And we do have copies in the house. They will be able to attend to your queries within this room, so that all the information is updated. And in case there are any payments that are pending, those will be processed immediately. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions? We can take maybe the last two in-house, and then we'll get to the online, the shareholders that are joining us on virtually, but also the questions that were sent much earlier. We can take, there's a hand here.
Yeah, my name's Michael Mwango. I think in end of March, there was an extraordinary general meeting that was called by this gathering here. Definitely at a very short notice, that meeting was cancelled. May I know, especially from the chief executive, what caused the delay, or the issue that was to be tabled then was resolved without the involvement of the shareholders? Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, we have one hand here. That will be the last hand.
Francis Nkunika from within Lusaka. My question is, has the board identified any underperforming assets? And if so, what are the plans for those? Are they going to sell, or what have you?
Okay, thank you very much. We shall allow the Chief Executive Officer to respond to this question.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Mwango. Yes, an EGM was called, and the point of that EGM was to consider revisions of the articles of association of the company. The articles have not been revised since a long time. It's probably over 20 years. And there are some developments which have happened where we think that we need to revise the articles so that we can conduct certain transactions and the restructuring of the business. that which can only happen if the certain articles are revised or introduced in the articles. So unfortunately, at the last minute, some further, there was need for further revision and a relook at the draft. That process is now more or less over, and another EGM will be called to finalize the revision of those articles. And I can't give you the actual timeline for that, but we hope that before the end of this year, or even much earlier, we can actually have that EGM and have the new articles in place. I didn't get the surname, but Mr. Nkunika. Okay. The performing assets, yes, we are always looking at our portfolio. As highlighted in that summary, we have designated certain assets for disposal because either they are underperforming or they don't fall within our target in terms of the areas that we want to be vested in, which is mining and energy-related sectors. So we are doing this all the time. And if there are some assets in our portfolio which don't meet our performance benchmarks, then we'll be looking at either getting rid of them or restructuring them so that they can meet our expectations. That's the approach that we take, and that we are taking. I hope that helps. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chair. Sorry, CEO. Okay, so we did receive 24 questions from shareholders, which we had been asking for them to send through. And I'll be reading out the questions, which will be addressed by the Chief Executive Officer. And we would also like to ask the ones that are joining us online virtually to please feel free to raise your hand in case you want to ask a question. So we did receive, as I mentioned, 24 questions, and the first one is from Michael Gautier, who is asking, what do you think about the declaration made by Mau Sampa, a former Deputy Commerce Minister, concerning the transaction on Mopani, which should have been subjected to prior approval by the Parliament, and is asking the court to declare the transaction unconstitutional, null and void.
Zccm-Ih has contested the matter and responded to the claim. This follows the joining in of Zccm-Ih to the original action. The position of Zccm-Ih is that the Mopani transaction does not fall within the ambit of Article 210 as to require parliamentary approval. The matter is still in court and therefore sub judice, and we can't say much more than this.
Thank you, CEO. The next question is from Thierry Charles, who asked in an email dated 26 December 2024, then in the absence of a reply in an official letter dated 27th April 2025 and copied to all the directors, I indicated to the former chairman and current CEO that high-placed Zambian officials had informed me that hundreds of millions of dollars had been misappropriated at Mopani to the detriment of the Zccm-Ih. Their legal entity, Restitution, would have damning evidence. Did the management of Zccm-Ih contact Restitution and or carry out thorough investigations and take steps to recover the money? If not, why not, given the colossal sums involved?
Zccm-Ih operates under its own governance structures, which guide both its internal affairs and its engagement with partners across various investee companies. In this context, there is a need, if there is a need to conduct detailed investigations into the operations of any investee company, Zccm-Ih will do so in accordance with its established governance framework. That's all I'll say on this matter.
Thank you, CEO. The next question is from Olivier Cretois from Euronext, and he asked, what is Mopani's production for the first 6 months of 2025?
Mopani reported cathode production of 24,337 tons for the first 6 months of 2025, against a budget of 34,481 tons, mainly because of the oxygen plant shutdown from 21st November 2024 to 20th February 2025, a period of 51 days in 2025.
The next question again is from Olivier, who asks, in July 2024, Mamba Collieries was set to begin exploration activities on 2 large-scale licenses for lithium and other minerals such as amethyst, aquamarine, tantalum, and tin in Zambia's southern province. Do you have any feedback on the discoveries?
Mamba Energy is progressing well on its studies on the lithium exploration license. The shareholders will be kept informed on the progress of the exploration program at Mamba.
Again, another question from Olivier from Euronext, and he asks, in May 2025, you announced a $50 million investment in phosphate mine and processing plant project with Sinograte and Wonderful Group. What percentage of the company was Zccm-Ih on? When is production scheduled to begin?
As announced to the market around 30th of May 2025, Zccm is a 30% shareholder in the project. Construction commenced in May 2025, with production expected to commence in September 2027.
The next question is from Thierry Charles from Euronext, who asks, Mercura Energy Group and IDC have created a training JV, I believe a trading JV, that now says copper concentrates from Mopani, the FQM mines, and KCM. Do these copper sales relate in any way to Zccm-Ih's proportionate shares in these mines? Trafigura is KCM's former trader. Will sales of copper from KCM to this JV not aggravate the already strained relations with Trafigura?
The sales are not linked to Zccm-Ih's equity stakes in Mopani and Kansanshi and KCM. And Zccm-Ih has no offtake agreements with these investee companies. I should say here also that the current concentrate deal that has been announced seems to be a one-off based on current operational problems at the smelters at KCM and Mopani. And I think the other Minister of Finance or Government has given the traders up to is it October or November before that deal expires. So there's no hint that this is an ongoing deal going forward. But we don't believe that this initiative by Mercuria will aggravate the relations with our Trafi. We don't believe so. Thank you.
Thank you, CEO. We have 2 questions from Olivier again. The first one, what do you think about how long it take to KCM to reach full production? And secondly, what is KCM's production for the first 6 months of 2025?
Okay. We have engaged management at KCM, and it's estimated that it would take more than 5 years for KCM to reach full production of 300,000 tons per annum. This, however, requires investment in critical infrastructure and resolution of some of the challenges the mine is currently facing. KCM production this year has been impacted negatively by problems with the smelter and challenges of sourcing acid. As a result, for the period to 30 June 2025, 43,000 tons of finished copper was produced by KCM, of which 33,000 came from their own sources and 10,000 came from outside purchases.
Thank you, CEO. The next questions are about Zambia Gold Company related, and we have Sylvain Blomer, Olivier, and Thierry Charles who have asked from the Euronext, who have asked the 4 questions. The first one: what has been the gold production in kgs at Kasenseli for the first 6 months of 2025? And secondly, the Zambia Gold Company was created in 2019 to hold gold mines such as Kasenseli and to purchase gold from individual miners. Could you please tell us what has been done in relation to the second part of the mission, which is buying gold? And then, do you think Kasenseli is efficiently managed? And lastly, PS Mines Dr. Hapenga Kabeta has recently announced that the ministry will collaborate with large-scale investors to enhance gold mining operations in Zambia. Will Zccm-Ih apply to take part in gold mining at large-scale investor?
Okay, thank you. I'll answer those in the same sort of sequence. Following the suspension of operations at Kasenseli in October 2021 and the reinstatement of operations in November 2024, Zambia Gold embarked on resolution of the issues that were found to be problematic by the mine's safety department. Essentially repair and also the repair of the equipment that had developed problems during the suspension period, and installation of security measures. Gold production recommenced on 3rd March 2025. A total of 5.8 kgs has been produced so far. Zambia Gold has been purchasing gold from Mumbwa and Rufunsa. This activity commenced in February 2025, with the company purchasing 14.1 kilograms as at the end of June 2025. ZCCM continues to closely monitor developments and are engaging relevant stakeholders to ensure that the Kasenseli mine is efficiently managed in line with best practices and the value creation objectives. We are also collaborating with the Ministry of Mines in various areas, including licensing, exploration, and trading. Zccm-Ih has been mandated to lead in gold, manganese, and other precious metals aggregation. Where new licenses call for participation, Zccm-Ih is open to engage with potential partners. Thank you.
Thank you, CEO. The next question is about Mingomba Mine, and they're coming from our Euronext shareholders, Thierry Charles and Olivier. And the questions are: Zccm-Ih owns 20% of Mingomba mining project. According to various press reports, Cobalt Metals has bought out EMR Capital stake and now owns 80% of Mingomba project. Can you confirm that shareholding? And in relation to this, our company's strategic plan indicated that management wished to increase its shareholding to 35%. Zccm-Ih now receives recurring revenues that will enable it to participate in financing the equities needed to develop Mingomba. Why has the management of Zccm-Ih not acquired part of EMR's shares when the amount at stake in a greenfield is currently reasonable? The last question in relation to the shares: do you think it would be possible to acquire additional shares in Mingomba Mine? CEO?
Okay, thank you. Zccm-Ih holds a 20% equity stake in Mingomba, comprising a 5% free carry and a 15% participating interest. Zccm-Ih is currently in discussions with its partner in Mingomba, Cobalt Metals, for the acquisition of additional shares in the company, and the shareholders will be updated once the discussions have been concluded. And in response to Monsieur Olivier Ketra, yes, it will be possible, and as stated above, shareholders will be updated once the discussions are concluded.
CEO, the next question coming from Olivier, and it's about Kabundi Resources, that Kabundi mine has been open since 2019. Why it has never reached the 240,000 metric tons manganese annual production target? Are you reducing this target?
Exploration activities have continued in Kabundi to establish the resource. Various exploration steps have been completed, including geochemical, geophysical, and diamond drilling. The drill cores have shown potential for copper mineralization, as well as manganese. That will be investigated further.
Thank you, CEO. The next question is about Zccm-Ih, some of the activities and interest. The first one is from Olivier from Euronext, and he asked, during the shareholder open house in October 2024, you mentioned that you were in discussions with Lubambe, Mopani, KCM, and other Zccm assets to sell the production share directly. Could you tell us which company you were successful with? Discussions are still underway with these companies, and shareholders will be updated once these discussions have been concluded. The next question again is from Olivier. On 10th March 2025, GovEx released its feasibility study of the Montanga uranium mine project. The company is seeking funding for the project. Will you be taking part? And also in relation to this question, CEO, Olivier has asked, are you interested as Zccm-Ih in investing in nuclear energy, and whether you think Zambia is ready to build nuclear electricity plants, and will you be in to develop such ambitions? Okay. Management is looking at this proposal from GovEx, and once this process is concluded, we will then decide on whether to participate or not, and the shareholders will be updated accordingly. Regarding the project will only produce what's called yellow cake for export. There will be no enrichment to the produce in the country. So therefore, the suggestions that we could have nuclear plants in Zambia is not appropriate. The next question again is from Olivier, and he asks, to create more value and to support Zambia and African countries' development, don't you think it should be interesting for Zccm to transform a part of the copper in wire, motors, or other component with a big percentage of the red metal? For this aim, why not creating a JV with a foreign company who is producing such items? Zccm-Ih continues to assess opportunities for local value addition. In addition, Zccm-Ih is supporting the local companies producing copper cables by making copper cathodes available through 20% of Mopani's copper production. Thank you, CEO. The next question, still from Olivier, who asked, IDC and Mercura made an agreement to sell directly Zccm-Ih's copper share. But if you plan to do it by yourself, don't you think it would cause a problem with IDC and Mercura? We are not aware of an offtake agreement to directly sell Zccm-Ih's share of copper. However, we believe that such a proposal would require a tripartite arrangement amongst
IDC, Zccm-Ih, and Mercuria.
So we have three more questions. The last three questions. The first one is from Sylvan Bloma and says, congratulations on the increase of return to shareholders. What are you planning to do in order to have a reduction of the large difference between the share price and the asset value?
Zccm-Ih acknowledges the gap between share price and asset value across the different stock exchanges, largely driven by varying levels of liquidity and trading activity. The company is addressing this by improving investor communication, focusing on core assets like Mopane and KCM, and exploring ways to increase the free float to enhance market participation. While trading remains limited, especially in London and Lusaka due to low liquidity and long-term investor strategies, Zccm-Ih believes that improved performance and greater investor engagement will, over time, drive better price alignment and reflect the true value of the company.
Thank you, CEO. I think the next question by Barry Michael again speaks to the share price difference by a ratio of 1 to 3 on the three stock exchanges, Lusaka, Paris, and London, which is absolutely abnormal, as this states, given that even in Lusaka, the share price only represents around 30% of the net asset value. He asked, what do you intend to do to get the share prices to converge to within a few percent?
So the response is the same as given earlier.
Okay, thank you, CEO. The last question is from Terry Charles, who asked, junior mining companies have projects in Zambia with a lot of potential. Have the Chief Investment Officer and the investment committee of the board considered taking equity stakes or offering financial partnerships to companies like Jubilee Metals or Midnight Sun?
Management is aware that there are junior mining companies that are developing projects within Zambia and has held discussions with some of them. At an opportune time, transactions for equity stakes or financial partnerships will be considered depending on how these projects develop and the capacity of Zccm-Ih to take up new equity interests. I should also say here that we are also looking at getting a few exploration permits also, which we can also explore on and drive up the value chain and seek external partners as need arises. Thank you.
Thank you, CEO. We have we turn to the shareholders that are joining us virtually, and we have one question from Tandeka G. Soko, and the question is, with recent happenings in the Mufumbwe saga, which is the gold mining, have we taken any interest in coming on board to ensure efficient management and benefit in the long run for the company? What steps is Zccm-Ih taking to ensure gender equality in its operations and interests so as to promote women's involvement or participation in the mining sector? So two questions relating to Mufumbwe, and the other one, what steps Zccm is taking to ensure gender equality?
Okay, thank you very much, Tandeka. In terms of Mufumbwe, it's not only Mufumbwe. Actually, if you're anybody paying attention recently, you see there's a gold rush almost every month. And we are taking a keen interest. We recognize that our subsidiary Zambia Gold is fully committed in terms of Kasenseli and trading activities at Rufunsa and Mumbwa. We are actively looking at the options that we can take as a company to participate not only in Mfumbwe there, but there are other places, Mbika, Vobwe, Lusangazi, where gold has been discovered. We are working with the Ministry of Mines and Minerals Development to assist in the formalization of the artisanal sector, and also giving the miners, artisanal miners, a fair price. Additionally, also making sure that their processing is environmentally friendly, with no use of mercury and other such harmful substances. So it is something that we are looking at actively, and as we progress, and if there will be need to make announcements, the shareholders will be coming out and saying so. Thank you. Regarding the other question, I think...
How is Zccm-Ih ensuring gender equality to ensure that there's more women participation in its operations?
This is of concern, and it's something that we keep tabs on, both within Zccm-Ih and also our investee companies. We are fully committed to gender equality and encouraging as much as possible that equal opportunities are given to all our citizens. And it's quite heartening, seeing progress being made in all the operations, but particularly also, just for the record, is Mingomba mining, which is led by a female Zambian engineer, and the composition there in terms of their technical staff is very well represented. But I think we are seeing this across the board in all our investee companies. Thank you.
Thank you, CEO. We do have a hand from Terry Charles, and we will allow him to ask the question. Mr. Terry Charles.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Terry Charles.
Good morning.
As the president of Zccm-Ih. I would like to say a few words of welcome to our new chairman on behalf of the member of our association. Chair, thank you for taking minority shareholders into consideration. I have noted your dynamism in defending the interests of Zambia and of Zccm-Ih in particular. I note also you desire to move our company forward. We have the impression that we are back with one of your predecessors who had this voluntarism, Madame Dolika Banda. We are relying on you and trusting you to continue the turnaround begun by the previous board, but also to correct their failures and remedy the growing issues that we have raised in recent years. Thank you all for this AGM. Goodbye to you all. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Thierry Charles, for the wonderful and positive comments, and also it's quite humbling that indeed you are able to be positive to give our board or restructured board a chance. I want to assure you all here, and also through Mr. Thierry Charles, that our ultimate objective and responsibility as a board is to deliver shareholder value. And for us, a shareholder is not about being the majority or being the minority. We believe that shareholders deserve their best in us, and working with management, we will do our very best. I think we are in it together. We don't believe or say we have the monopoly of knowledge. That's why we are here. We want to take this company to its highest level to have ultimately the best returns for you shareholders. So thank you very much once again, Mr. Charles. let us continue to engage, and you're welcome at any time to indeed give guidance, also support to whatever we are doing. It's quite humbling once again, and thank you very much for your sentiments.
Chair, that...
Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Charles. That was the last comment from the shareholders, both in person, virtually, but also the questions that we had received prior to this meeting. Thank you. Okay. Okay, we have a hand in house. Could we just pass the?
I'm Jane Kayesa, Jane Zingani Kayesa. I'm a shareholder. I just wanted to find out, but first, before I ask my question, thank you for the assurance, Mr. Msonda, on what you're doing to ensure that we get value. For me, my concern is basically on the companies where the Zccm-Ih has got 100% interest and the way they are performing. I have noticed most of them are underperforming. Either they are winding up, they are in liquidation. And the CEO mentioned that there is a Limestone Resources Limited that is coming up. I just want to know exactly what you're going to do differently with this company that we have failed to do with the others that are in liquidation, that are winding up. Basically, the underperforming companies where we have an interest share. What are you going to do differently for this Limestone Resources Limited that we failed to do with Indola Lime and other companies where we have where Zccm-Ih has a 100% interest share? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Kayesha. Kayesa, okay. Yeah. It is an on-point observation about the 100% owned companies.